My name is Laif Gilbertson. My wife, Melissa Hall, and I are business partners together, as well as being married and having a toddler. So we work in the camera world. We do photo video. She's a photographer. I'm a videographer. I'm also an actor, and she's also a hair and makeup artist. So we have, all these little sort of camera world hustles going on. Our main gig right now is weddings. We're Blue Note Weddings together, and that's our main focus. Is all our marketing and back end time, like having a good website, all that pretty much goes into our wedding business currently. It's our main thing, and then whatever else we can shoot on the side, some corporate stuff. I do some drone stuff. Whatever else comes along, we shoot that too. Sometimes she picks up a hair and makeup job. I'm still doing commercial auditions here and there. I do an acting job. But our main, we just did our taxes for 2019, and our main income is definitely photo video these days. The hair and makeup and the acting is really a side hustle for us now. So I thought there's two things I thought I want to talk about today. The first one, I have a lot of experience with, and the second one I don't, but I've been inspired this morning by another podcast online talk. So I wanted to share that with everybody. So the first thing is maintaining a positive and spiritual outlook through this deal, through the shutdown, through COVID-19. And then, some people are going to tune out right there. If when I said spiritual, if you're watching this and you're like, oh God, then not to worry. The second half is about passive income and diversified revenue streams. And I've just been, and I know very little about that, but I've been inspired this morning, and I'm ready to get into that and learn about it. So I wanted to share pretty much what I was inspired by this morning, and that will cover the practical side of all this.
Cool. Before we get into that, just tell me kind of like how the state of this pandemic has affected the businesses that you and your wife are operating.
Yeah. So weddings are canceled for the next 2 months at least. Anything we have within the next 2 months has been postponed. Is changing the date. Very sadly, we did lose one gig completely. So far, everything's been able to be rescheduled, but we were going to go to Hawaii.
Oh no.
Hawaii. And we're super excited. And we're not doing it anymore because it's not happening. And unfortunately, they rescheduled to a date that we weren't available. They had very limited options on when they could reschedule. So we were not able to stick with them. Ooh, this is sad. Cry. But yeah, all the other work, like, any gig stuff, it's as it's all shut down. So we have no income right now, nothing coming in, which is why I'm on this to diversify your revenue stream thing.
Yeah.
So fortunately we do have savings. So we're not like, my heart goes out to people who are like paycheck to paycheck and are like, oh man, how am I going to buy groceries and stuff? Fortunately, we don't have to be worried about that, but it is a good, it's a good time to think about money. It's a good time to go like, hey, like, whoa, where am I at with it? And what, if you don't have savings, it's going to be a good kick in the butt to be like, boy, I need to have savings. And if you do, then like, well, where's it coming from? And for my wife and I, it's only coming from one little stream right now.
Yeah.
And so this is a wake up call for us to be like, we're doing it wrong. Okay, what can we do?
Right. So, I mean, I know we've got some diversified income discussions coming. When, share your insight on that. And then if you can, towards the end or however it fits in, talk a little bit about how you were able to put or to set some money aside for savings. Because I know, shooting weddings, you can make a lot of money doing side gigs, but a lot of people in that space are just getting started, or they are like now struggling, so I would love a tip on how to put some aside.
So I was never a saver. And like, I think it's true for a lot of men, but my wife got me to save. And she's a really good saver. And so she's been saving since she was very young. So when I met her, she already had savings. I had no savings. But it sort of blew my mind. Some of the, like, I was never taught anything about savings. Like, my parents didn't really teach. My parents taught me that you can do a lot with a little. That's what they taught me about money, not on purpose, just by like how they lived. Mm-hmm. That's valuable. But then that brought up the question, well, what if I want to do a lot with a lot? Like, I'm stuck with just a little. So save half of every paycheck. Now that's like that. And a lot of people would go, well, how can I do that? And that's how I started saving. Like, my wife said to me what her mom told her, save half of every paycheck. And I was like, oh, that sounds like so crazy ambitious. But I started to do it. Before you know it, I had a savings account. And, I could have said, okay, that 50% is too crazy for me. Well, so do 25%. Mm-hmm. But a big part of it, I think, is just being dedicated to it. Like, if you make a plan and, okay, I'm going to save 25% of every paycheck, then 25% of every paycheck goes in the savings account and doesn't come out, and then really making that division. So it's not just like, oh, if I need this money, I can just grab it. It's like, no, you can't. If, the world goes on shutdown and you really need it, then you can grab it, but you can't grab it because you need a pair of shoes or whatever it is,
Yeah.
So another big part of that, I've been on for the last, like, quite a few years, a sort of personal quest to understand money and what the fuck money is. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is a worthwhile endeavor as well. And not, and there's a lot of resources out there for that.
What have you been focusing on with that lately? Like, what resource has been?
So the one I wanted to bring up was also the inspiration for the passive income thing. There is a woman, Darcy Benincasa, and I can provide you some links that you can, put up with this if you want later on. Yeah. She is a wedding photographer, but she's also owns real estate. She's also a mastermind marketer. My wife and I are taking a marketing class coming up, starting from her. She does a lot of things, and she's a great teacher. So she has a lot of online courses and things like that. There's I'll give you all the links and stuff, but she has a killer Facebook group, Play It Brave, that we were part of a discussion this morning about passive income and diversifying revenue, things you can do. And I love her because she's not just like, here's things you can do. You could do a podcast. You could do an affiliate marketing thing. You could sell, a book you sell on Amazon. But she goes, here's things you can do. And when I say them, what's your reaction and what's preventing you from doing them? She starts getting you to look at, like, do you, what are your beliefs around money? What are your beliefs around business? What's holding you back from having she talked about a podcast that, this guy does a podcast with affiliate sponsorships and makes $120,000 every time he does a podcast. Yeah. Like, crazy, right? But we all have beliefs, and we have to start, I have to examine my own beliefs around, like, doing that, like, I have a thing that's like, I don't really want to be online. I don't want to post to Instagram. I don't want to, like, be, like, really active on Facebook. Like, I don't want to do it, Mm-hmm. And so that's, like, a challenge for me to overcome just my aversion to, like, just doing that. Cause I have an idea now, and I got an idea from it. I also work on motorcycles, and I'm going to create a video that I could sell online about how to maintain your old motorcycles. That's my specialty, old Japanese motorcycles. I used to have a business doing that. I shut it down. But if I create a video, about some basic maintenance, and if I could keep going as, through different parts of it, and, you take the time to make that once, and then people buy it. Mm-hmm. People buy it. This lady, Darcy Benincasa, she made her first one was how to meter film. She did how to meter film in 2017. And that still is making her $150 to $300 every week from just people buying this $49 course every once in a while. So, that's buying her groceries right now, even a little more than,
Yeah.
So And then real estate is another one I'm getting inspired about. And, that's, if you have some money that you could put into something like real estate, of course, is a great investment opportunity. And I know very little about it, but I'm like inspired to learn about passive income. So that when something like this happens, it's not just, okay, all the gigs are gone. Like, and there's people out there that are like, yeah, I still got this coming in and this coming in and this coming in.
Yeah.
So I'll give you all the links or some stuff for Ben and Kosa. If people they should check her out. She is really inspiring. She's a really great teacher. Awesome community to get involved with if you want to like push your business forward, if you want to push your money forward, your creativity even. Like, she's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great resource. I think, the concept of passive income or diversifying revenue streams is very similar to the concept of scalability, right? Like allowing something to be sold and generated while you're not actually working on it, versus like shooting a wedding. You kind of have to be there to make that happen. Then you can scale, then you have multiple teams doing that. But I like the idea of that. I definitely think it's wise to have different means, right? Like, it's kind of, you also think about like you have one major client and they are the bread and butter of your business, and that client decides to hire a different photographer or a different video company. Then what? Then you're kind of in the same boat anyway. So you might as well have diversified clients or diversified portfolios. It's kind of like, like the savings plan, right? I think there's a lot of us out here that are like, what do I do? How do I do something like, and then we still get that fear of getting started. I was talking to a guy today about, starting with video editing. He's a photographer and he's kind of like branching it out into the vlog space. And, he was telling me a little bit about his fear of his own voice and like that whole aspect. And I think that's a challenge too, right? Like for those of us that are behind the camera, all of a sudden turning the camera, and now it's like, oh, I look stupid, I sound stupid, or overcoming those fears and finding your own voice is something that I feel like a lot of people are doing in this time too.
Yeah, that's huge. I could do a course on that. I mean, my background, which I didn't mention, is I have a bachelor's degree in theater and acting. So, and, I came from acting to this world and then got behind the camera. So, for me, I'm very much coming from the other perspective of like, comfortable in front of the camera, and now I'm comfortable behind too, but, I had to work to get comfortable behind the camera. I'm very much into the idea that everything is an opportunity and everything is a blessing. And the things that we perceive as bad things are often, well, I say always, and a lot of people might say often because it's easier to swallow, I think. It's often an opportunity to learn and grow. And for me, I believe it's always that opportunity. I got a relevant story that's kind of funny, right? Years ago, I was a surf bum in Mexico, and I was on the beach and we were doing pitch flips. And a pitch flip is where one person holds their hands out and the other person puts a leg like straight out and is held by that person's hands. And then you both go down, up, and the person throws your leg, and it makes it really easy and fun to do a backflip. So it's like an assisted backflip. It's called a pitch flip. And so I was teaching these. I've also done some circus stuff. So I was teaching these to this kid, and on the beach in Mexico, we're doing these pitch flips. And one thing that often happens is when you first learn them, you go to do your pitch flip like this, and you want to throw yourself back, which is exactly what he did. And he clocked me right in the mouth. Just boom, total accident, right? He hit me so hard, my lip was stuck to my tooth. Wow. I had to like pull my lip off my tooth. I was like, ah, and he was, like, I'm sorry. I was like, it's okay. It happens. It's a total accident. And then that evening I went to eat dinner, and I went to eat, and I was like, oh, and it hurt so bad to eat. I had to eat really slow. And I realized that I had been at that time on a mission to eat slow. I was like, man, I eat so fast. I just want to be able to eat slow. I just want to be able to eat slow. And here comes this guy, punched me in the face. It really helped me to be able to eat slow, because it forced me to like think about it and do it. So it's just an example, a silly example of like something that was maybe, you know, oh, this is so bad, but there was this big fat silver lining for me in it. And I think that always applies. And so the situation in the world is so bad right now. And to me, that means there's a massive, massive silver lining and opportunity for like the world and all of us kind of. And, you know, I think the first message whenever we get sick, I believe the first message is stop and reassess. Yeah. Every single time. And I think it seems to me we're getting that on a global scale right now of like, stop and reassess. Like, and if I look at it that way, like this virus is doing us a favor. And that's something I always think too, is like, I try to remember, like, if I'm pissed off at somebody, like you did that, like, I always try to remind myself, like, what gift is this person bringing me? And inevitably they always are. They're bringing me some kind of a gift. And it's just a little switch in the mindset of, you know, like, do I want to just be like upset that this guy cut me off in traffic? Maybe I needed to slow down. But I was about to cruise up to the intersection and get in some kind of car wreck or who knows what, you know, like, I don't mean to sound preachy, but you know, this is just the stuff that this kind of situation makes me think a lot about. I think a lot about it anyway.
It's so easy to just like, okay, I got to scramble and I got to get moving. I got to get things done. I got to come out of this hole. I got to like meet the needs of the market. When it rebounds, I've got to whatever, right? But have we taken time to pause and to listen to what we need as people, as an individual, what our family needs, and also what our business needs? You know, like I feel like as creatives, sometimes we can go down a path that maybe isn't what we want to focus on because that's where the money is, you know, and then all of a sudden you find yourself, you know, shooting some random thing that you don't really have a passion for. And you've kind of gone so far in one direction that you need to realign. And I feel like you said, this time is a prime example of how all of us creatives have kind of just been put in this box. We've all kind of like, the playing field has been leveled to a certain degree. And do we take that time to try to get out of the box, or do we take the time to explore the box? You know, it's kind of like taking a project, an event, you know, and you're shooting, or when you're filming, and you just show up and just start shooting everything. And then the client's like, nah, I don't want that type of photo. Or it's a commercial product that you're shooting and they have a direction that you haven't thought of and you're already busy working. So I think sometimes it's a necessity, and kind of playing off the name of this series, out of necessity, we all have to align with ourselves and what's important.
Indeed, you know? Well said. Yeah.
So I think spirituality, you know, meditation practices, praying, all of those things are highly beneficial now, because we start to listen to that inner voice and that deep desire, not just keep moving in the grind, you know? Yeah.
Speaking of that inner voice, just reminds me of another great resource. There's a guy called Wallace Waddle. What a name, Wallace Waddle. His stuff is on Spotify now. This guy wrote a book in 1910 or something called The Science of Getting Rich. And it's basically a guide to money and business with, I mean, I would almost say a spiritual bent, but it's not, because he's super practical about it. He's all about the science of it. And it's a really interesting listen, because of the vernacular of the day. I really love language, being an actor. And it's neat to hear like maybe a lot of ideas that we've heard if you're into any kind of spirituality and manifestation, these kind of things, to hear this stuff in this antiquated vernacular. One of the things that he talks about that you just reminded me of, basically monitoring your thoughts, and deciding what you think about and choosing what you think about. And, anybody who's into like yoga or spirituality, you've heard these ideas before. But I like what he says is that, that doing that actually choosing, being vigilant about your thoughts and choosing what you think every moment is the hardest work in the world. And that really struck a chord with me when I heard it, that is, and I think it's true. I think he's right. It's the hardest work in the world. To constantly monitor and choose your own thoughts is really, really difficult.
It is completely. I think my girlfriend catches me all the time, like she's like, what do you want to do for dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm not thinking about dinner. And even though she's posing the question, I'm still not thinking about it. Right? Like she's asking me a question and I'm not there. I'm not like, I'm not thinking about it. And so, her viewpoint is like, you have to be present, like have a decision, have a voice, have a thought. Obviously that's just dinner and it carries over in all of this. And I think now is a perfect opportunity for all of us to stop and listen to what it is that we want and what we think and what we feel. I think feeling right now is the biggest one, right? Like, what are we actually feeling?
Yeah.
Like, you may have seen the post, but there's been a post floating around. Like, I can't tell if this pain in my chest is anxiety or if it's the virus, like, because we're not paying attention, we're just running and going and moving. And
I think that idea is creeping in more and more. I think those ideas are creeping more and more into our global society of like the importance of what we feel and how it relates to our health and what happens to us in the world. And, I love to see those ideas coming more and more into common thought and commonplace, even doctors at Kaiser starting to have, posters on the wall that say, things about like, how do you feel? How is your, the medical profession starting to account for things like that, that everything isn't just physical, I'm very much into the metaphysical. And for me, it's always, my experience has been that the metaphysical creates the physical, so like to address sickness or a disease at the cause is something metaphysical before it becomes into the physical world. And the ideas like that are gaining more and more traction. I love to see those ideas come into film too. I love it when I see those ideas in any sort of, film or TV popular stuff,
Yeah, I just watched a film last night, and I'm just pulling up the name of it. A friend of mine, she recommended, it's called Memorable, which is it's a French animation film that was up for an Oscar, I believe. So well done, and the emotion behind it. I mean, it was kind of based around the idea of like dementia or Alzheimer's, where you lose memory. I was blown away. I mean, it felt, you could feel that despair of someone who's losing that, and for an animated film, it was, I mean, the colors, the details that they put together, it was so well done. I highly recommend it. But
Nice. Is that Netflix?
I think it was Vimeo. I saw it on Vimeo.
Oh, on Vimeo. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I don't know, like I was just inspired by that, taking in new mediums. Cause I'm not, I don't typically watch that type of film, but
now, I don't know if you've already talked about this in your previous episodes, but what are you doing during this time? Well, obviously you're creating this series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice work.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a big thing for me. I think this series for me, like, it's twofold. Obviously, it's for me to see what's out there and to get answers to my own questions. Like I don't know all the answers, but I'm going to ask questions. But then it's also to support the community, and that's been a big driver for me. And I'm kind of on the flip side of that slowdown, as we were just talking about. Whereas I'm like, I gotta go, I gotta get a website done, I gotta talk to as many people. It's okay. Hold on. So I went back and I kind of reassessed that so that I have some time to process and to think about things. As a creator, I'm always wanting to dive in. As a small business owner too, I just got a studio, and so now I'm like, I got a studio to pay for on top of that. Well, cool, man. Thanks for taking time out, and let's definitely stay in touch.